no one's got absolute proof to go by on any of this sort of stuff. There, they have to go on faith. But what is faith based upon? You know, what do we know? That's always the thing. What do we know? What do we know? You know, so can we go on what the Bible says? A lot of people say, I can't believe the Bible, I can't believe the Bible. And I ask them, have you really ever read the dang thing? And of course they haven't. Right. So how the heck can you really, I wouldn't believe it very much either, I suppose, if you haven't really read it. But if you read it and you really read that thing, and it's no fast, quick, easy read. It's pretty in depth. And people have been reading that thing for 20, 30, 40 years, and there's still more stuff that they constantly get out of it that all connects up with this life and makes more and more and more and more sense out of this whole life, our whole existence, constantly, always, more and more, all the time. Therefore, becoming much more believable all the time, therefore answering all the questions that are perturbing us. Are all the questions about life and death and purpose and stuff in the Bible? Yeah, yep, they are. And the more you read it, the more you absorb that and understand that and accept that, the more sense and logic and rationale that you get out of it, the more it makes sense, the more you can believe it. There's your faith thing. People say faith, faith, faith. I says believe, believe, believe. You know, I have faith in God. I believe in God. I have faith in God that He's going to do this and this and this, yes, but I also believe God will do this and this and this. For some reason, that works better with me than I have faith that this is going to happen. I say instead, I believe this is going to happen. Same word, kind of, but it just sits better, I think. Right. But the more sense we make out of it, the more it makes sense to us, the more we read it and understand it, and the more sense that it makes to us, logical, rational, the more we can believe it. So when people say, I don't believe this and I don't believe that, it's only because they haven't it's really only because they haven't read it that much yet. They just haven't done it yet. They don't believe it right up from the get-go, and they don't try to see. And so if they don't, then they don't believe it, and their condition continues and continues. However, that same person will go to church week after week, month after month, year after year, really not absorbing anything in church. They're going to church, they're making the motions, but are they really gaining anything, learning anything? Not really. And when they go home, do they follow up on anything, read the Bible, follow up on what the preacher said? Not really. So therefore, did they gain anything? Not a bit. And years later, they're still in the same situation. And this is what we got to do. We got to get to the fact that we accept that we really truly believe that we can get well, that this is small, tiny compared to God, and that His answers really are in that book. And the more we read it, and the more we study it, the more we make sense out of it, the more logical and rational it is, the more we believe it, and the more we do that, the more healed we get. We have overcome it. We have overcome it. But if we never do that, then it constantly has control over us. And another day, week, month, and a year goes by, and we're nowhere. See, this thing, we got to get to the point of really believing that this is a good thing, this PTSD. And whether it's PTSD or whatever the heck it may be, is a good thing, because, you know, it causes us, it forces us to have to come up with a solution for it. It will not go away on its own. It will not go away on its own. The only way it's going to go away is when we have finally grasped a deeper understanding of something, the whole problem. When we have grasped a deeper, fuller understanding of why we have this problem and all the parts that connect up to it, when we finally understand that, grasp it, because we search it out, we keep digging deeper and deeper, and we come up with all these answers, then we have overcome it. That's why the problem is there. The only reason we have this problem is because we don't know these answers already. There is just no doubt about it. If we knew these answers already, we would not have this problem. But we didn't know the answers, so therefore we have the problem. But if we learn the answers now, we'll overcome the problem. I don't know, you can relate that to anything. You can relate that to a flat tire on the road. If you've never changed a flat tire on the road before, then I suppose if you got a flat tire and you didn't know too much about anything, that would be a heck of a problem to you. But if you work through it and you work through it and you finally change the tire and stuff and you're back on the road again, you learn a heck of a thing. Now if you get another flat tire, not a problem. And it's the same thing with this. So if you already knew how to change a flat tire from previous experience and stuff, you get another flat tire, it's not a problem. If you never did that before and you get a flat tire, you got a problem. But if you learn what you need to learn about changing the tire and you change the tire, then it's not a problem from that point further anymore. And it's the same thing with the PTSD. We have this problem with PTSD because there's a bunch of things we don't know and understand. We didn't realize that before, so we got the PTSD. But if we learn and understand those things now, then we'll overcome it. We won't have the problem no more. And that's why the problem is there, so that we will learn something. We have to be glad, in a way, in my estimation, we have to be glad that we got PTSD, because it shows us that we are not understanding something very deep and profound that we really should have known. If we would have just went on with our happy life and never had a PTSD experience and never encountered this huge problem that really causes us to go deeper, if we never had that PTSD problem, we just go on with our happy life, and I say at the end of our life we would not be prepared at all. It'd be like going into battle without boot camp, AIT training, any of that sort of stuff. They just take you off the street, put a uniform on you, give you an M4, M16, whatever they're using these days, and shove you out there in the battlefield. You're going to get chewed up in no time at all because you were not prepared. See, so coming up to PTSD basically teaches us and shows us that we were not prepared. There was things that we didn't know and understand. So the solution is simple. Let's learn and understand those things. And if we look at it that easily, that pragmatically, that logically, that rationally, that easily, then we can take it on. But if we just sit there and say, gee, I don't know what's wrong, I don't understand, blah, 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 all this sort of stuff, and we don't do anything about resolving it, then the problem will never go away. It will stay right there in front of us. And we say, oh, God, take this away, take this away. And he says, no, I'm not going to take it away. I know what's in front of you. I'm going to leave it there. You overcome it. See?
Right. I've been trying to deal with the situation. It's been hard. I mean, I try to deal with it. But I've been telling my wife that I can't keep being like this. I gotta.
No, you can't. This is terrible. You've been this way for a long time. And that's okay. One thing you learn about that is it won't go away on its own.
Jumpy all the time.
Well, yeah, because lack of sleep.
Yeah.
Lack of sleep, irritable. Anyone who don't get enough sleep, you wake them up early, they're a little bitchy.
That's me.
Yeah. You get a good night's sleep, you feel all rested and, and rejuvenated and all that sort of stuff. You get lots of good sleep most of the time, almost all the time. Pretty good mood. Which, for two reasons. One is that you got good sleep, so you got good healing. But the other reason, too, is that if you did get good sleep, that must mean that you're at peace with everything. So why would you be grumpy and grouchy and irritable if you woke up? If you're in a good mood, everything's fine, no big problems, everything's fine, why would you wake up bitchy? But if something's still gnawing at you, biting at you, then it's easy to understand why. If that goes on day after day after day, that no doubt, yeah, you'll be grumpy, you'll be grouchy, yeah.
That's me. I wake up grumpy every time. Attitude.
And that don't go well with the relationship with the wife and all. That don't go well at all.
I want our voices annoys me. I get the proper rest.
Yeah. Oh no, you didn't get the proper rest at all. But you guys are church people too, though, right?
No.
Oh no, you don't. Oh.
No.
She don't go. You don't go. She don't believe or whatever. Maybe you guys believe. Kind of say that you believe.
Well, she used to go, but for some reason she just stopped.
She quit going. She didn't get it.
Yeah, she just stopped.
She didn't get it. I'd have to say that it's not part of the conversation very much at all. Then around the house.
We don't discuss.
Yeah, which is okay because I'm not a church-going person anyway. Like I've probably told you plenty of times. I certainly told plenty of people plenty of times that I don't go to church either, because I just feel that most of the preachers out there and all the ones that I've ever went to teach on this third grade kid level, and I'm not interested. I'm not going to go to church and spend all that time getting ready, going down there, sitting through all of that thing, coming back home and stuff for third grade level happy sermons. No.
That's part of the reason why we don't go.
Yeah, to me, if you would go somewhere and they would really teach you something deep and profound and really explain and do a good job doing that, then I would like to go. But when they just give all these little happy stories and all this thing and then clappy clap hands and this and that, yeah, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. I don't know who they're trying to entertain, but I'm not being very well entertained by that. I'm not going to waste my time. See? So anyway, so church is not the answer anyway. But the thing is, the thing about church that's supposed to happen is supposed to teach you more stuff so that it becomes more and more understandable and more believable, because it does relate to your life so much. The Bible, the Christianity thing, and all that stuff. God, there is a God. He is real. He does exist. There is this world. It is real. It does exist. There is a heaven. It is real. It does exist. And this earth is here for the purpose. This is basically a chessboard, the playing field, the laboratory, the classroom, whatever the heck you want to call it, the boot camp, some dang thing, to see who's going to get it right and go on from here to their real home in heaven, or who's not going to get it right at all, miss it, refuse it, reject it, ignore it, whatever, and not make it. It's a great big test. You went to boot camp, AIT, those were tests. I suppose if you failed, which wasn't too many people, they always got you through somehow. If you failed, you'd get kicked out of the service. They wouldn't take you on. And this is the same thing here in this life, except on this one, the criteria is actually even tougher than boot camp. It's not a physical thing, it's an emotional thing, it's a mental thing.
Right.
And it's the whole thing is, after living on this earth, did you see it and did you understand it? Did you connect the dots? Did you make sense out of it? Where you see that, you know what, I know why I'm here and I know what I'm here for. This is a test. This is a test. I think I'm just going around happy, going to movies, going to the park, going to the beach, having happy. Well, that's fine. That's okay. Not a problem with that. But are you coming to the realization that, I'm here for a reason and a purpose? I'm not just here to live my life and at the end of my 60, 70, 80 years I just die and get buried in the ground. There's a real reason for me to be here. To see if I can make sense out of this whole thing, get it right, understand it, so that I can go on to the real life that lasts forever. This is just a testing area to see trying area to see who's going to get it right so that they can go on to the next level.
I asked myself that question. What's my purpose? And I've been trying to figure it out.
The purpose is easy. Everyone has the same purpose.
Everybody has a purpose.
Everyone has the same purpose.
Same purpose.
Yes. Everyone thinks that their purpose is to be a fireman or a banker or a store clerk or a business owner. No, that's your career. That's something that you can do. Just like I say all the time, a parent doesn't really care what the child wants to do for a living, for a career. That's fine. That's not their purpose. The purpose is the same for everyone. To come to the realization and conclusion that there is a God, He is real, He does exist, and I'm going to seek after and follow Him so that I can spend eternity with Him in heaven. That is everyone's purpose. Our purpose is the purpose that God created us for. We didn't create ourselves. Your mother and father didn't create you to be a military guy and to be a businessman. They didn't create you for that purpose. Well, you know what, hon? Let's have a son and his purpose will be to go to battle and then come home and be a businessman. They did not do that at all. God created us for a specific purpose. He didn't create you to be a military man and a businessman. He didn't create me to be a military man and a psychologist. He didn't create me for that. He created me and gave me free choice of what I wanted to be, and this is what I chose, and He's fine with that. He said, that's cool, that's fine. But His real purpose in creating me was to be with Him in heaven for all of eternity. So am I going to fulfill that purpose or not? That's what His purpose was. He loves me, He wants me to love Him back. Is that what it's all about? That's what it's all about. Why did you marry your wife? Why did she marry you? Love. and you want to be together and move into your house and live for the rest of your lives. Well, God created us for the same thing, so that we would bond to Him and move into His house, heaven, and live the rest of our lives with Him. That's the purpose. He didn't create any of us necessarily to be a banker, a businessman, a doctor, a lawyer. He just created us, and hopefully as we're on this earth, our 60, 70, 80 years, whatever it is, that we'll come to the realization that I was made for a purpose. Not just this job that I have, but my purpose was to come to the realization of why was I created, what was I created for, do I see it, do I understand it, do I accept it, and am I going to go that way or not, so that I can go on and live in heaven and live forever. The intent is that you live forever, not just our 60, 70 years on this life, on this planet, and then we die. It's basically to live forever in heaven, so that we can be with God in heaven. Doing what? I don't know. Doesn't get into that too much. It doesn't describe that too much because it doesn't want us focused on that so much. It wants us focused on things of this world. See, the more we see it and understand it, that is why I was made. That's why I was made. I was not made for my purpose. I was made for God's purpose. He made me. So if you or I build anything, we build a box in the basement, in the garage, we build a box. We're building that box for a purpose. What are you building that box for? Because I want to hold all these tools. So the purpose of that box is to hold those tools. I would be the creator of that box, and I built that box for this purpose. God is the creator of us, and He built us for this purpose. And that's what we got to see and understand. It's not our purpose, it's His purpose. So that we see that, understand, and accept that, and we're going to go that way, is what this is all about. And since He created people, and it's all about love, I love my people, God says, and I want my people to love me. Well, when that happens, that's a good thing. But He gives everyone the choice. Are they going to love Him or not? Just like when you were out there looking for a wife, girlfriend, wife, that as much as you may have liked this woman and this woman, it was their choice whether they were going to love you back.
Right.
And evidently, the one loved you back. And so that's the one that you got married to. The other ones you may have loved, but they didn't love you back. So they're not going to work. And it's the same thing on this earth. Everyone has a free choice to love God back or not. And if they choose not to love Him back, then they are certainly not going to get married to Him and live in His house, heaven, forever and ever. Just like if some gal that you're chasing after ain't going to love you back, you're still not going to marry her and bring her into your house.
Right.
It's not going to work. So she's on the outside. So everyone on this planet has a free choice to love God and follow Him, or to reject Him, deny Him, reject Him, refuse Him. So you got the good guys versus the bad guys. And that's why we got all the wars and murders and crime that goes on in this world. And it will never end, because everyone who is born has a free choice to be a good guy and follow God, or to be a bad guy and reject Him. And plenty of people choose God, but plenty of people do not. And that's why we always have murders, crime, wars.
Because of the Bible.
Well, it's not because of the Bible, but the Bible explains it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, all the wars overseas. I mean, it's the Bible reason.
Oh, sure it is. Of course it is. Of course it is. Virtually all wars are about religion, belief system. Are you going to be a good guy that follows God, or are you going to be a bad guy that refuses to follow God? It's basically, you're right. It goes on all the time. Just like the crime on the streets out here, it's not by people necessarily who believe in God and follow God. It's basically by those who don't believe in God, ain't going to follow Him, totally refuse and reject Him. They're the bad guys. They're the ones that do the crime. You do not have too many dope pushers, killers, gang members, and stuff like that going to church on Sunday, going to Bible studies. They don't do that. They totally reject that. But the ones that go to church on Sunday, have the Bible studies and all that stuff, read their Bible and stuff like that, they're probably not out on the street selling drugs and hooking it and doing drive-by shootings and all that sort of stuff. They're probably not doing that. They're the good guys. They don't do that stuff. So yeah, we have those wars over there all the time, in the Mideast. But like I said, we have wars right here in this town. The good guys versus the bad guys.
Yeah, every day.
Every day. Shootings and shootings and shootings. More people have died in Chicago this year than over there, of our people, than over there in Iraq, Afghanistan all year long.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't know how many total people have died since the war started in Iraq, Afghanistan. There still have been more killings in Chicago alone than than we suffered in all of Iraq and Afghanistan. And that's just Chicago. That's not including Detroit. That's not including St. Louis. That's not including New York, L.A., Frisco, all these other towns.
Yeah.
So we got plenty of battles going on here.
Yeah.
And the good guy, and we have the good guy army that's trying to stop them. That's the police. So again, we got the bad guys against the good guys. And so we see that, then we come to this realization what this life is all about, what this world is all about.
Like I said, it's never going to stop.
No, it's never going to stop, because everyone who is born can choose to be a good guy or a bad guy. This is why there is no birth in heaven. Do you know that? There is no birth in heaven. Because if there was a birth in heaven, then they could choose to be a good guy or a bad guy, and God says, I'm not going to have that. The only people that come into heaven are those that have been proven already to be good guys. Then they can come into heaven. Then I can trust them. But if I make who the heck's really on my butt here, you know? I'll get back with him. But anyway, so yeah, so that's why there's no birth in heaven stuff, because anyone born in heaven could choose to be a good guy or a bad guy, and some of them would choose to be a bad guy, and now we got the problem starting up all over again. Start the cycle all over again. So we have to prove that first, that we will be faithful and loyal to God. We see that God is real, He does exist, He is a great guy, and I'm going to follow Him, because I want everything that He wants to give me. So I will put away all my nasty, and I will do whatever it is that He wants me to do, because He has done a ton for me already. He's done a ton for you. He got you through the war. He got you through. You saw some horrible stuff, experienced some real scary, horrible stuff, but He got you through it. He took you through the valley of the shadow of death, and He got you through it. So what do you owe this guy? A bunch. Is He trying to just make you a good, solid follower of His? Is that all He's trying to make you smart, sharp, and wise and strong? And what makes you strong other than going through experiences, learning the things that He wants you to learn, overcoming them, getting past them, learning from them, gaining from those experiences? All it, just like in boot camp. Why do they send you to boot camp in AIT? To train you, to make you better and better. Because when you start off, you don't know nothing, you're not good at anything. At the end of all the training, you're supposed to be a pretty darn decent soldier.
Right.
It's the same thing that God's putting us through here on this earth. We start off as a kid living at home, high school, everything is fine, mom and dad are great, blah, blah, blah. We go to high school, lots of fun, lots of friends, lots of sports, all that sort of stuff, everything is fine. Then we get into the real world, and we find out how nasty this thing is there. All it is our training. Are we going to see that and understand it and accept the training and become a stronger, better, smarter person that really can see that there is a God, He is real, and can be faithful and loyal to Him? So that at the end of our life, which we know is going to come, we don't know when, we don't know how, but we know we're not going to live forever. And as I always say, who would want to live forever on this earth? I mean, the 60, 70, 80 years we get is plenty. I mean, you get burnt out on this place. I mean, how many times can you look at the Grand Canyon? How many times can you go to the beach? It's the same thing over and over and over again. Is that all you got? This earth is not supposed to be dynamic and ever-changing, ever wonderful and wonderful. Then we'd want to just stay here. Once we've explored it pretty much, that's it, folks. No matter how many times you go around the world, it's still the same old world, the same old world. Heaven is incredible. Heaven just goes on forever. And it is so deep and so filled that even in eternity, you'll never get tired and bored of heaven. You want to go there. And you're not going to stay here. Your choice is not to stay here on this earth forever. That is not your choice. You will leave. As much as you may love the beach and the Grand Canyon and the mountains and the rivers and the forests and stuff like that, you're still not going to stay here forever. You will have to move on. So the thing is, where are you going to move on to? Are we going to accept this and get into this heaven thing, or are we going to reject it, refuse it, live a life of torment here on this earth, because of all the troubles that we have therefore, and then end up in hell. The closer we are to God now, the more we understand Him, accept Him, and believe Him, the more He provides and protects us. Provides for us and protects us. This is just like a parent with a kid. The more the kid is well behaved, does everything mom and dad wants, does a darn good job, the more mom and dad protect that kid and provide for that kid. He gets all the good stuff. The one kid that they have that just refuses to go along with the program, does all sorts of dangerous things all on his own that mom and dad can't keep up with, does not therefore have all of their protection, and they certainly are not going to provide him with everything he wants, because he's a nasty little sucker that just will not go along with the program. It's the same thing that goes on between parents and kids, is the same thing that goes on between us and God. He is our parent in heaven. And if we go along with Him, then He protects us. It's amazing how close you can get to God and how many things He protects you from. You hear about these people got this trouble and this trouble and this trouble and all these troubles, and then you look at your life and you say, we don't got no troubles. See?
Right.
Because he protected us from all those troubles. And then we look at our lives and we say, gee, I got this and this and this. How did that happen? I know how it happened. Because God provides and protects for his kids that are closest to Him. So these kids, us, that see and understand this and try to get closer to Him and learn more and understand more and be pleasing to Him and appreciate all that He's done for us and are thankful to Him for all that He's done for us, when we look back at our life and says, you know what, God got me through a bunch. I owe this guy a bunch. He's a good guy. The more we see that and understand it and draw closer to Him, the more provision and protection we get. Just like parents with the kid. The more the kid sees that mom and dad are really good people, you know, they'll put a boot in my butt if I go wrong, but man, I can see that if I do good, they just love the dickens out of me and give me all this stuff. The kid, if he can see that, draws closer to mom and dad, and they provide and protect even more for him, which causes him to draw even closer, which causes him to provide and protect even more. And it's the same with us and God. The more we see this and realize this and draw closer to Him and try to learn about Him and read our Bibles, not read our Bibles to be good little boys and girls to read the Bible, but to learn from the Bible so that we can draw closer to Him. The Bible tells us how to get closer to Him, how to be more pleasing to Him. The closer we get, the more He provides and protects for us. And we got a good thing happening. At the end of our life, are we going to heaven? Oh yeah. See. And is there a bunch of nasty stuff that goes on in this world? Oh yeah. Why? Because they're following God's way? Not a bit. Because they're rejecting His way? Yep. And you cannot get that message across to some of these people, and so therefore they are stuck where they're at. They're stuck in their squalor, in their poverty, in their disease, in their death, dying, killing. They're stuck in it. Is that what God wants? No. But everyone has a choice to either go along with it or reject it. And they reject it, and so there you are. So the more we think on these things and soak that in and absorb that, the more we focus on that, the more our mind becomes filled with that, the more our thoughts are on that, the more our thoughts become fixated on that, and we get away from this crap, in my estimation, of the war, of all the death, dying, killing that went on in the war. We see that as small and tiny in comparison to this. God's plan for this earth and people and heaven is so much huger than what went on in the battlefield. Of course there's death, dying, and killing in the battlefield. Of course there is. It's good against evil. It gets nasty. But we still got to rise above it. We cannot be fixated on that. This is a bigger thing to fixate on. But we won't fixate on it if we don't start connecting the dots and seeing the logic and rationale of it all.
So why do we try to change that? No, we can't.
Why do we try and change what? Like for the bad guys?
Out of killing and stuff.
Because what else can you do? You got to stop them. If you don't stop them, they will just continue to rob, steal, and destroy and take more and more and more. So you got to stop them. You got to do what you can to stop them.
Keep it at bay because it just started growing and growing.
Yeah. If the Allies didn't get together to stop Hitler, he would have just kept going and going and going and going and going. So we had to get together and stop him. Did we start the war with him? No. He went far, far, far. Finally, we had to jump in. Same thing over there in the Mideast. You know, Saddam Hussein kept wanting to stir the pot. That's what caused the first Gulf War. He was a bad guy. He wanted more. He was going to rob, steal, and destroy, and that's what he did. He invaded Kuwait. They're our allies and all that sort of stuff. We can't do that. He went in there, complete butchery, for Pete's sake. You can't let that go. So you got to put together the army of good guys to go over there to stop him. What else can you do? Otherwise, you just keep going and going and going. So we whooped his butt back in 1991. Probably should have whooped his butt better. But we did what we did, and kind of had peace for a while till 2003, after the towers came down, and after he kept threatening us and threatening us and threatening us, insisting he had nuclear weapons, chemical warfare, was going to start destroying us, doing this and this. How much of that can you put up with before you finally got to go over there and smack him down? So that's what we had to do. As it turned out, he didn't have nothing. He was bluffing. We didn't realize that. We didn't realize it. But nonetheless, they're fighting. We're trying to control them and stop the butchery over there. If we were to pull out, look at what you got with ISIS. ISIS is doing exactly that. If we don't stop ISIS, ISIS is just going to frickin' take over the whole dang thing. Oh, there's no doubt about it. And Obama has done a horrible job taking on ISIS. He really don't want to wipe them out. I insist he does not want to wipe them out. He hits them a little bit here and there, these little pinpoint hits here and there, but they're just growing and expanding and growing and expanding. He has not decided that he's going to go in there and wipe them out. I like Trump. Trump said, I'm going to frickin' wipe them out, and I don't blame him a bit. We should have. We had a good thing going in 2007 and 8 before Bush left. There was peace in the region. We had won the war. And we were setting up the schools and the hospitals, putting roads back together again, the water, the electricity, all this sort of stuff. It was coming along. It was, if we would have maintained permanent bases out there where we kept a handle on everything, it would have been fine. But Obama took us out of there, and the whole place went to crap in no time at all. ISIS came up. We got the butchery, that's worst butchery ever in the history of man going on over there. So now we got, Trump says he's going to go, that's one of the reasons Trump got elected, is because there's a bunch of people that says this ISIS problem is real, and we need someone who's going to go after this thing and stop it. That's one of the reasons, one of the many reasons Trump got elected. Hillary wouldn't have frickin' done that to save her butt. There's no way. Hillary would have done nothing to stop ISIS. Because Hillary would have allowed ISIS to continue going, causing more refugees, which she would have led into this country with the belief that they would vote for her next time around. That's why she was doing it. That's why she wouldn't stop ISIS, because ISIS will create refugees. She will accept the refugees would vote for her.
Politics.
That's right. Politics.
Yeah.
Exactly right. For her own personal gain. Not for the good of the country. Not a bit.
No matter who gets hurt in between.
That's right. No matter who gets hurt in between, that's got nothing to do with it. See, that's why it's just evil as can be. As evil as can be. Thank God she got stopped. She would have got elected. Now, I'm not saying that Trump is the savior of the world. I think he's a good guy, has great intentions, is probably going to do good. But I also believe that things can still go bonkers. Not because of him so much, but that things are in such bad shape that, I mean, all these guys got to do is come up with a nuclear weapon somehow or some dang thing. I mean, is that going to be a game changer or what? Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Could that happen? Of course it could. They've been predicting it for years.
They're trying to do it now.
Yeah, they've been trying to do it all along.
They're trying for years.
So Trump is going to stop that Iran nuclear deal. That's going to stir up a snake pit of trouble. But you know, he's going to stop the Iran deal that Obama put together. He's going to stop that on day one. You can bet on that. There won't be another dollar flowing over to Iran. He'll put the hurt on Iran. He'll do everything he can to cause them to crumble. So what will that cause? He'll do everything he can to eradicate ISIS. What will that cause? What kind of backlash? We don't know, but we got to do it. So when the cops attack the house full of bad guys, there's gonna be some death, dying, and killing going on. When we attack Vietnam to stop the Viet Cong. Was there death, dying? Oh yeah. When we did the same in the Mideast, was yeah, oh yeah. When we went after Hitler, same thing. Oh yeah. Hirohito in Japan, when we went after him, a lot of people died. Oh yeah. But if you're dying for the cause, you're a good guy and you end up dying in the cause, and God knows who's going to die or not. He signs off on everything. No bullet hits its mark unless he signs off on it. We got to understand that. God is not standing on the sidelines saying, gee, I wonder what's going to happen next. He knows everything that's going to go on. His number one obsession is his people. So we got to see that there is a purpose. This thing has a whole purpose to the whole thing. This is God's ball game. He wants what he wants, and he put this world together, and he put his people together to get what he wants, and he's gonna. And whether we like it or not, the boy's gonna come through. And the sooner we accept that and get on the bus, the better off we are. But the more we sit back and say, I need proof, I need proof, I need proof, God says, you ain't going to get it.
Yeah, right.
You ain't going to get it, the next guy ain't going to get it, the next guy ain't going to get it. You got to go on what I gave you. Those are the chips on the table that you got to play with. Don't ask for any other chips, you ain't going to get them. I put all the chips on the table I want you to play with. And out of that, then you got to come up with this. And those that can't do it, won't do it, they're not coming into my house because they have not proven to me. You know, everyone's worried about Trump and how tough he's going to be with immigrants and stuff like that. I'm going to tell you, Trump ain't going to be anywhere near as tough as God is going to be. You do not get into heaven unless you pass his criteria. Trump's saying you're not going to come into our country unless you pass the criteria. The criteria is nowhere near as tough as God's criteria. People don't understand it. They think God's this loving thing. Well, he is if you're one of his people. Just like if the child obeys mom and dad are great to the kid. But if the kid is rebellious, defiant, rebellious, oppositional to mom and dad, then mom and dad are a bunch of meanies that are going to beat his butt all the time. The same dynamic that goes on between parents and kids is the same dynamic that goes on between God and us. And it is made that way so that we can see it and understand it. That's why we got husband and wife falling in love, getting married, moving into their house, living forever. That's why it's the same dynamic between God and his children. Do we see that and understand? Do we love him as much as he loves us? If so, at the end of our life, we die and we move into his house and live forever. And the same dynamic between parents and kids, the kids look to us, the parents, as providers and protectors, and we're supposed to look to God as a provider and protector. That same dynamic that goes on between husband and wife, parents and kids, is the same thing that goes on between God and us. And it's made that way so that we can see this and understand this. And the more we look at it and examine it, we say, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And as soon as it starts making sense, we can start believing it. And after a while, it makes so much sense that that becomes our proof. That becomes our proof. The fact that it makes sense is our proof. And that's how it works, folks. See, and then once we get caught up in that, get caught up in that where it makes a lot of sense and now we are given our proof, then that becomes huge in our life, and this death, dying, and killing on the battlefield becomes small stuff. It becomes insignificant, tiny. And then we're free of it. And now we got peace. We got peace with why everything is the way it is. We got answers to why everything is the way it is. And now we can sleep good and heal and get better. So that's how it works.
I'm working on all that.
Yeah, well, the more we roll it around, mold it around in our heads, and the more we see how it does make sense, the more we work on that and think on it, and the more it does start connecting, those little brain cells start connecting up to each other and stuff and making this thing that really makes a lot of sense. You see, you know what? It just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I work on that. But when I stopped taking my sleeping pills, I mean, I go to, I mean, like I said, I go to, when I fall asleep, I fall asleep now, but sometimes I don't stay asleep long.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something's bugging you. You don't have peace. When I hit the sack at night, I am knocked out. I sleep so deep I dream in Chinese. Is what I tell people.
I never heard of that.
Oh man, I don't. Boom. You know, I might jack around for a minute or some dang thing, get my pillow right and this and that and this and that. You know what I mean? But when I finally do, boom, I am gone.
Yeah.
I just, shoom, I've fallen off. You know, it's deep. And do I wake up? Well, every once in a while, eyes pop open and look at the clock. No, it's only 2 o'clock. Okay, back to sleep again. You know. You know.
Dream of Chinese.
Yeah. So I don't sleep as much as I want because I go to bed. You know, I try to be asleep by 10:30, be in bed and asleep by 10:30. But the wife keeps me up sometimes. But I still get up about 3:30, 3:40, and so that's only 5 hours. It's not, I would like to sleep 6 or 7, but you know I got to get here early. I got a ton of stuff to do, so I got no choice. But fortunately, in my 5 hours, I sleep as good and hard as someone who probably sleeps 6 or 7 or 8 hours.
You get good sleep, you know. When you get good sleep,
I get a lot of vets in here, and they say they only get 3-4 hours sleep a night, maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night. And I say to myself, well, that's all I get too. However, mine is deep sleep.
You sleep for real.
Yeah, they go to bed. They're into bed trying to get some sleep, maybe for 8 or 9 hours, and they're lucky if they get 3 or 4 hours out of it. I go to sleep in the bed for 5 hours, and I do get 5 hours out of it because nothing's bothering, nothing's bugging me, because I got all these answers for everything of what's going on, so nothing is a problem. Nothing is a problem, and I've gotten it to that I can see that God does provide and protect, by golly. And all these little troubles, we run into troubles too, but all of a sudden they go away. They go away. They go away. We got to do our part, but He does His part. And we get over this, and we get over this, and we get over this, and we get over this. And we can see that, yeah, there is a God. He really does exist, and His number one obsession is His people. Not just us, but all people. And He hopes that they all make it. And some do, and many won't.
Oh.
And He's sad about that, just like any parent is very sad, very happy for the child that obeys and does really good, and pretty sad and disappointed about the one that doesn't. But you got to take the bad with the good. And, you know, what can you do?
That's life. Man.
That's life. That's what this life is. So you got to, once you see that and it starts adding up and making sense to you, you say, I got to do everything I can to be a good guy. I got to put this stuff aside. I got to think on these things. I got to make sense and logic and rationale out of this thing. I got to start changing my way. I got to get this right. I got to get well. Do I got to go to church? No. Do I got to know this stuff? Yeah. You go to church supposedly to learn this stuff, but you find out that you don't learn it in church. And you wonder, what's up with you, church? I thought you guys were supposed to teach us. Well, as it turns out, they're so caught up in entertaining, and I tell you the truth, I don't think many of the pastors understand it. I don't think they can explain it. Because they never do, and it's fundamental. Pastors at churches just want you to keep coming back year after year after year after year. However, we go to grade school and high school and college, we finish a year, we go on to the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. These pastors want us stuck right there. They never want us to go on, they want us to stay stuck right there.
Well, that's what I believe. Same stuff every week.
They got the typical Mother's Day sermon, the typical Father's Day sermon, the typical Veterans Day sermon, the typical Christmas sermon, the typical New Year's sermon, the typical Father's Day sermon, if I didn't say that already, Easter, whatever else, and then in between they put their own stuff in. So, and much of it is a repeat from previous. Like I said, their Bible is only about that thick. That's all they preach on. The real Bible's about that thick, but they only preach on about that much. You're not getting nothing out of it. Yeah. So anyway. So that's kind of the spiel, and that's what we got to think on. That's what we got to think on. So anyway.